Now, when you first began, did you ever think that you would be able to go as far as Australia?
No, I did not think. I grew up in Phoenix, and there were no female sports writers at the Arizona Republic. There were no female journalists or sports journalists on TV. I had no role models to look at.
Where'd that spark come from?
My parents, my mom, Jeannie, was an English teacher. My dad, Chuck, huge sports fan. But even he said when I graduated from high school, and I was the sports editor of my high school newspaper, and in college at NAU, the sports editor there. I've known since I was a young girl that I wanted to do this, but even when I graduated from high school, my dad gave me a typewriter and said, just in case, you might have to be a secretary. Even though I was going off to college, this was the mentality then. He grew to be extremely proud of me before he passed, so it came full circle.
Lisa, let's name drop. Tell me about some of your stories of all your years of reporting.
Well, one of my favorites still, even though it's quite old now, 2004, I covered the Yankees extensively for the New York Daily News and the Boston Red Sox, the ALCS championship. As you know, probably know, the Red Sox had not won the World Series in billions and billions of years. They were down 3-0 against the Yankees. They were done. It was over with. All I'm thinking is, oh, I've got to deal with another Yankee run to the World Series, which was lovely for like 5 straight years, but then it gets tiring. The Red Sox come back. They win. They win 4 straight games. It was extraordinary, and they go on to win the World Series. I cried. I don't often cry anymore over sports. It was magical. Just being around Boston, having worked there myself before, knowing what it means to the community, I love those kinds of stories. Going back when I worked in Australia, the Australian company, I worked for Rupert Murdoch, he would send me to America to write about sports for Australians. So back then it was Michael Jordan's heyday, when the Bulls were winning everything. I would come back for all the playoffs and all the championships. They had an Australian center named Luke Longley, so I kind of had to write Michael Jordan through Luke Longley's eyes for the Australian audience, but
okay.
It's fantastic. I've covered 8 Olympics. I love Winter Olympics, whether it's Apollo Ono or
He's one of my favorite.
ice hockey. Ice hockey I could cover for the rest of my life, happily do that. Covered events in Afghanistan. I wouldn't call it an event. After 9/11, I went there to write about how sports were girls were now allowed to play sports, and went into the stadium where not so long ago they were doing beheadings. And there were little girls that could walk into the stadium now. It's not like that anymore, but I mean, it's kind of reversed itself. 8 Olympics between winter and summer. It's extraordinary. It's exhilarating. For 3 weeks you don't sleep, you don't eat, you feel like an athlete, that you're like at your best performance. Lindsey Vonn, having to climb the Alps with her and write about it from up there. Yes, so you have to be actually in decent shape, and you don't climb the Alps literally, but
pretty close.
Yes, you have to travel a lot. You have to get up at like 4 a.m. to be at the slopes at 6 a.m. kind of deal, and then you're constantly on deadline, but it's so much fun, so much fun.
It sounds fascinating. And we have then the NFL, and you've covered some recent ones.
Well, I'm lucky enough to be based in San Francisco during the holidays. So the 49ers, who the last years with Jim Harbaugh as their coach, they're always exciting. They're always in the playoffs. They were in the Super Bowl this year. Covered many Super Bowls, I think 10, but I could be wrong. Tim Tebow, who I'm based out of New York generally, so dealing with him, he was with the Jets last year, but the best story, one of my favorite stories with him, having covered when he was still in Denver, and it was that playoff game against Pittsburgh. And Tim, everyone says he's a mediocre quarterback. Every coach says that, every player says that. He makes things happen, and that's the game where he made the miracle happen in overtime. And I was lucky enough to be on deadline writing that. It's hard when you're having to write this extraordinary story. Millions of people have seen it, witnessed it, and you still have to try to give the reader something else.
But I think you do a really good job. I love your writing, and I'm not a big sports fan, but I love your writing.
Thank you. And I do try to write for people like you. Or I think of my grandmother, 94 years old in Phoenix, and she doesn't read the internet, but someone my mom or somebody will cut out the articles that I write and bring them over, or print them out. Or she'll sit there with the Arizona Republic and read every single thing. So I try to keep her in mind, as well as like a really good sports fan, and I want to write for both of them.
Well, I think you're very successful at it, and congratulations again on receiving the 2013 Pioneer Award. I don't think it could happen to a nicer person.
Thank you.
And you have been in the DM zone. Come back soon. And again, I am Diane Marie Collins, and you have been in the DM zone. We like to interview fun and interesting people, from authors to celebrities to almost celebrities or soon-to-be celebrities. Don't forget, you are in the DM zone on Wake Up America Media Network. Come back soon.